So let's begin. Yesterday, I know we had talked about few things. Yeah, we talked about few things in relationship to colors, right? So, what are the different ways that we can define a value for a color? Okay, color again. This is a property and this is a value, right? So, what are the different possible value types for a color property in CSS? We looked at it and we got to know a lot of things in relationship to color and its value at at the same time, right, we also had a chance to look at again different kinds of simple selectors like a universal selector, id selector, class selector, and then there is a grouping of selectors, and also we also talked about element selectors. Okay, these are all falls under a category of selectors called as simple selectors. Now, with that as a background, let me jump into talking about few things now. Let me try to open the code examples. Okay. So inside the code example, let me try to increase. Yeah, inside the code example, let's go to um, CSS examples. We saw about simple selectors. Now we'll talk something about combinator selectors. Okay, combinator selectors. Today we'll concentrate something on that and try to see how they are and what they operate on and what are the different types in it. Okay. Now let me try to open the very first combinator selector that is about um, descendant selectors. Okay. So this is the descendant selector. Now, now what is this descendant selectors? Inside the combinator selectors, we have what is known as descendant selectors. So descendant selectors are always represented by the parent or the topmost selector followed by a space and then the descendant. Okay, now let's take this example here. Let me take the very simple same example. Let me say let's copy this all together and I'll go to the now. What we have here is a simple paragraph, a heading, a paragraph, and a div. And div contains one, two paragraphs, and then it contains a section. A section contains one paragraph. Okay. And then there are a lot of paragraphs down the line, and we'll take that one by one. Okay. For the ease of understanding, let's consider a div, and then there is a space, and then there is a p. There is no comma or nothing. It's just two elements, div element and also a paragraph element. So now this is the syntax for specifying the descendant selectors. So what it will do, this is saying that select all the paragraph elements that are the descendants of div element, which means that are inside the div elements. Now, where there are div elements in this particular thing, there is a div element here, and then there is a div element here, and then rest all are paragraphs. Okay, so paragraph 1, then there is a div element. Inside the div element, there is paragraph 2, paragraph 3, and then there is a section. Inside the section, there is a paragraph 4, and this div closes here. Then there is a paragraph 5 and paragraph 6 appearing. Then we have a div element again, which is again having a paragraph 7 and 8. All right. And finally, we have the three paragraphs, which is paragraph 11, 10, and 9. So before this, let me comment this out. Just show you how the output is going to look like. So this is how the output looks. What it has a header, and rest all is a paragraph 1 all the way to paragraph 11. Okay, this is how the output is going to look like without any styling. So totally 11 paragraphs are there. Now Let's go ahead and style with the descendant selectors. So what is the descendant selector? I'll try to uncomment this styling. Inside the style tag, I'm going to give div followed by a space and then a paragraph, which is two elements. So what it is saying is select all the paragraphs which are inside the div. So with that selection in place, first thing is we need to see what is the senior most or the senior most of the elements that is there, that is div. So first see where all the div occurs. Div occurs here and div occurs here. There are two divs. And are there any paragraphs inside them? Yes, there are paragraphs here. One, there is a paragraph 2, 3, and also a paragraph 4. All these three are appearing inside div. And there is also a div here which also contains two paragraphs, paragraph 7 and 8. Now, because of this descendant selector, the paragraph 2, paragraph 3, 4, and 7 and 8, these five paragraphs will have the background color as coral. Let's go ahead and see that. First, I'll save it and then see the output. So now what you can see here is paragraph 2, 3, and 4, and then 7 and 8 are styled because of the descendant selectors. Understood, guys, this one?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. And the next one we'll talk about in combinator selectors is a child selector. Okay, as the name itself suggests, it's a children. Okay, and now for that, I'll just try to copy this entire source code and then I'll show it right here. So what else is happening here? So this naming convention is something like that. Child selector is also a combinator selector, but the syntax for that is div greater than or a angle bracket then piece, which is a paragraph, which is only select those paragraphs which are the children of div, which means, so first is identify where there is div. Okay, the same thing. We have a div at 2 and 3, and there are also a paragraph 4 here. And the same thing, 7 and 8 are the paragraphs that are there inside div. Now, what we need is only the child. Div greater than P, that is the selector, which is called as a child selector, which means the children are directly within that. They are in the very next level. They are in the very next level, not the third level. This is the first level, this is the second level. Now the div has got 2 and 3, these two paragraphs as children, whereas paragraph 4 is a grandchild of div because it is a child within them. Okay, so what is this? The div has got three childrens basically. One is paragraph 2, paragraph 3, and another is section. There are three childrens to div, whereas paragraph 4 is kind of a grandchild. So it is not a child here. In the same way, the div contains two paragraphs, paragraph 7 and 8, both are children's. So because of this selection, div greater than P, which means this is a child selector, which means I am going to select only paragraph 2 and 3, and then in paragraph 7 and 8. In this case, 4 will not be selected. So let's see the output, which is 2, 3, 7, 8. That is what we are expecting. So that is what is happening. 2 and 3 are selected and 7 and 8 are selected. But in this case, paragraph 4 is not selected. This is not a descendant selector. It is a child selector. That is the reason only 2 and 3 and 7 and 8 are selected. So are you clear with this, guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. And the next in line with the combinator selector is adjacent sibling selector. So now first let's understand what does it mean. First thing is sibling. Siblings is like your brothers and sisters. It might be a sister, it might be a brother who are born to the same parent. They are called as siblings. Okay. And adjacent is nearby. So now let's go ahead and try to see what it is. So what it says is, this is how the syntax would be represented. Div plus p, that is the adjacent sibling. Okay, so what it means is, you are going to select all the p's that are immediately after the div. That is what is a sibling. So now understand that sibling means it is not that you are going to select only the very first one, not that you are going to select the rest of them. They are not adjacent. We are going to select only the adjacent one. Okay, so did you guys understand this, what is meant by adjacent?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now let's go ahead. Here, in this case, there is a div here, and div and paragraph are at the same level. So these are all the siblings. So h1, paragraph 1, div, and then paragraph 5, paragraph 6, and then this div and paragraph 9, 10, 11. All these are siblings. Okay, because they are at the same level. Hence, what am I going to say? I'm going to select adjacent sibling selector. So, which means P plus a div plus P, which means select the very adjacent paragraph which is next to div, which means after div, what is the next one? Which is paragraph 4. After this, the very next one is paragraph 5. And after this div, the very next adjacent sibling is paragraph 9. So this is what the output is going to look like. So paragraph 5 is selected and paragraph 9 is selected. Okay. So why this is only paragraph 5 and 9 is selected? Because they are the siblings of div, because div is what we selected, div plus p. Okay, which means these first, whenever it is a plus, then understand that they are both at siblings, they are at the same level. And second, we need to select that p which is the very first occurrence of p, which is immediately after div, which means after this div, the very immediate p is paragraph 5, and after this div, the very immediate or the adjacent para is paragraph 9. That is the reason you are seeing paragraph 5 and paragraph 9 being highlighted with gray. All right, makes sense, guys? Now, let's go ahead and try to understand the next one, which is after the adjacent sibling selector, then there is a general sibling selector. Okay, so now the difference here is it is no more adjacent, it is general, which means anything and everything. All right, now let's understand this. Now, what is happening here? The way to represent a general sibling selector is div, and then there is a tilde symbol. Okay, the symbol is currently, if you are on a keyboard, right, on the tab key, right above the tab key, this is the symbol that you see. You call this as a tilde, and this is the symbol that will represent a general sibling, which means now what you're saying, these both are siblings, and now you need to select them, general sibling selectors, which means whatever, select every p element that are preceded by a div. Okay, that are preceded by a div, which means the div is there, then select all the siblings that immediately that are following the div. Okay, so div occurs, and then if a paragraph occurs, there are 3 paragraphs that are occurring, select all those 3, because we are doing a general sibling selector, not a adjacent. So now let's first identify what is the first criteria. First is to identify how many divs are there in a code. So the div is, there is one div here and another div is here. Okay, so how many siblings are there after the div? Let's see that. After this div, the immediate siblings are 5 and 7, 5 and 6. And after this div, the immediate siblings are 9, 10, and 11. Okay, so these are the ones that will be selected, 5 and 6, and then 9, 10, 11. Because of the general sibling selectors, you are going to select all the paragraphs that are the siblings, general siblings, after the div occurs. Okay, after that, not the prior ones. This won't be selected. Okay, whatever it, the div should precede them. Okay, which means it should occur first. Div should occurs first, and then after the div occurs, whatever the siblings that you have, you need to select, and that sibling should be a paragraph. Okay, it can't be anything else, it should be a paragraph. Now in this case, this will have these two siblings, general siblings, and after this div we have these three siblings. All right, now that will summarize the combinator selectors. So we got the simple selectors, and now we got the combinator selectors. Combinator selectors are descendant selectors. They are represented by space. Then there is a child selector. Then the two elements are represented in between by plus symbol. No, so a greater than symbol, and then there is an adjacent sibling that is represented by a plus symbol, and a general sibling selector which is represented by tilde symbol. Now let me give you an exercise here. Let's say I have a para which contains a lorem text of 6 words. Then there is a section that I have got. Inside the section I have 3 paras, lorem text of 6 words, and then there is a div section which will contain again 2 paras with lorem text of 6 words. All right, and there is a finally I have sorry, I have one more paragraph. Let's say para two. I have 2 para. Let's say 6 words. Now this is the initial structure that I have got. So let me name this as like 1. Let's say this as 2, this as 3, this as 4, okay, this as 5, 6, and I'll say 7 and 8. Now I'm going to write a selector here, sty style, and now let's say section plus p color indigo. All right, so guys, can someone tell me, okay, what will be the output of this? What will be having the color of p? So my selector is section plus p. Okay, so now tell me, out of this paragraph, section plus p, what will be the output? So first understood what is plus sign here, why we need a plus? What kind of a selector is this, guys, for plus?
Adjacent sibling selectors.
Good. Then so now tell me what will happen now. So if I go here and tell you, so this is a plus which is there for adjacent sibling selector. Now you are right on that. Now with this given styling, what will happen?
Para 2, 3 and 4 color will change to indigo.
Okay, 2, 3, and 4 will change it to indigo. And what else, guys? That is one answer. Okay, so your answer was paragraph 2, 3, and 4 will change the color to indigo because of this. Now, let's say section. Okay, now this has, what will happen this one then? First, what is this now?
Sir, now para 2, para 3, para 4 will be indigo, sir.
That's right. That's right. So why?
Because it is
Because,
child selector.
yeah, now why? Because I'll tell you, this is a child selector, correct? Is it correct?
Sir.
Let's go back and show you. So the end greater than symbol is always for child, which means parent is greater than child. That is how you can remember. Okay, just aid to memory. Like parent is greater than child. Okay, age in terms of age. Yeah, that is what you need to remember. That's how you can go ahead and remember. Which means in this case, where is that? Yeah, I'll go back to this code. So in this case, the answer is right. This is the parent, and select all the paragraphs. In this case, 2, 3, and 4 will be indigo. But in this case, nothing, because this is a adjacent sibling selector, which means there is no paragraph that is immediately adjacent to the section. Either the adjacent ಯಾವ್ದದ div ಅದ. Okay, so what you are seeing, nothing is happening here, guys. ಏನು ಆಗಂಗೇ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಈ ರೂಲ ಇಲ್ಲ. Because there is nothing, as there is no adjacent sibling called paragraph after section. If had it been another para here, which would have been, say, I am indigo. Now this will be changing the color. Okay, I am indigo. This is getting changed. Why? Because immediately after the section, which is this one, the immediate adjacent sibling I need to select is a P, then this is an immediate adjacent selector. Now this is fine. That is the reason you can see this output as getting selected as an indigo here. Okay, so understood, guys, this one.
Yes, sir.
Now let's go ahead and see this output which we have talked about. This is definitely what you said is right, because section, select all those childrens that are within this section. So 2, 3, and 4 will be colored. If you see 2, 3, 4 are getting colored. Indigo as to canal the red martin. Okay, let's just make as a red. Yeah, now you can see 2, 3, and 4 are red. Okay, so now let's go ahead. Let's say, can anyone tell me what will be this output, guys? Now, what is this? B space P. What is this meant? What kind of a selector is this? Guys, can anyone tell me? First, whenever there is a space, what is the selector that we talked about? Where is this? Yeah, if you see here. Yeah, what is this selector? If there is a space, descendant selector, right? Correct. So now what will be the output of this? Body space P. Yeah, I mean, tell the answer. It's fine. I mean, even though it's wrong, it's wrong. But at least you gave it a try, right? That's important. Can anyone tell me?
All para will be changing color, sir.
Yeah, that's right. Why? Because the body tag is this one. So what I'm trying to say, this body tag, if there is a descendant called paragraph within the body, which means select all the paragraphs which are within the body. That is what it means. So everything will be selected because this is the body tag, and whatever is there here, para 1 to 8, all these paragraphs will be selected and change the color to red. Okay, let's see. Yeah, that is the reason you are seeing all these are changing the color to red. I know this is I mean it is very important, guys. All I encourage you to please go ahead and try to refer those, go to these example notes and try to refer those, because these selectors, right, the very selectors is very crucial in learning CSS, because a lot of confusion happens in terms of selectors. I mean, the simple selectors, the combinators, then there is a pseudo class selector, then there is a pseudo element selector, then there is a attribute selector. All these are important. Okay. You need to understand and differentiate them in order to understand the CSS rule. If I give you the CSS file to comprehend what this means, you should be able to see what is happening there. Okay. For that, the very foundation is the selectors. Okay, so good. Now that we have ventured into selectors, now we also learned about classes. Now let's say about background. Okay, now let's go here and let's say, let me delete this and add a boilerplate. And then I'm going to add, let's say, H1, let's say still jam. And then I'll add three paragraphs with the lorem text of, let's say, 20 words. That should, oh, sorry, should be an arrow here. Okay. All right. Now this is good. Now, what is the output? It's a simple thing. I have a paragraph, and there is a H1 header and three paragraphs there, which are having a 20 words here. Okay. That is what I have created. Now, inside the head tag, I'm going to add a style, and this style I'm going to modify now. The very first is I'll select the heading 1. Okay. Now, this heading 1 heading 1 is a simple element selector I have selected here. Let's say I want to change the background of that particular element. So how am I going to do that? Using a property called background. Okay. So if you observe here, one is I can change the background color. Okay, that is one. Or I can go ahead and add something called as, first let's understand what is background color. So the background color will change the background color of a element that is selected. In this case, let's say I want to change this background to aqua. Okay, aqua is a predefined color, and let's see this output. Yeah, this is working fine because I'm changing the background color of this particular element. Okay, so you might be having a question like, why sir, only this much should change? It is entirely changing the entire row itself. So always remember that the every element will span between the left and right, that is width of the viewport. until unless we define the viewport. Let's say if I go ahead and define the width here, width of, say, let's say I want to add only 50% of the viewport, which means it will now occupy only the 50% of the viewport. Until and unless I define that, it will span across the left to right. Okay. Now let's width we'll consider for a later discussion, but now let's concentrate mainly on background. So one way to do a change in the background is utilizing what you call it as background color. Now suppose I want to change the background color of this entire page itself. Yes, I can do that. And for that, what I need to use, guys, what selector I can use? Can anyone tell me? If I want to change the entire background of this viewport window itself completely, I want to change the background. What selector I should say?
Body.
Yeah, body is good. Body we can do. Yes, absolutely. We can do body, or you can also use star, that is a universal selector. Okay, that is also fine. Now, let's say if I use body, background color, let's say I want to make it as light gray. All right. So now if you can see, I have changed the body of the entire body of the web page to a gray color background, but H1 tag has still retained this because we have modified the H1 tag. Had it not been modified, then it would have been gray as well, light gray as well. Now, this is one way to change the background of a web page, or even the element, depending on the what selector you have taken in your CSS styling. Now let's go ahead and see. So what if I want to change the background to something called as I don't want this color, I want to have an image. Yes, we can do that. For that, what we need to do is, let's say I remove that. Okay, let me not remove it, or comment it rather. All right. Now let's say there is a paragraph, this one. Let's define a class to it, or a ID to it. ID one, then there is a ID attribute, then para 2, ID attribute para 3. Okay, there are three paragraphs. I have given an ID to them so that I can use ID selector. So ID selector always starts with what symbol, guys? Dot or hash?
Hash.
Yeah, that's right. Hash symbol. So let's say para 1, I want to change. And for that, there is something called as background image. So this background image is another property in CSS that will define what kind of image that you want to add. So the background image will always contain what is known as URL. Okay. So URL is for uniform resource locator. That is obviously it is the path. So you can give it in double quotes. There I am going to add an image. Let's say I want to add a background image of blue. Okay. This is the image, that is a .jpg file I have, and this I'm going to change for only paragraph 1. Let's go ahead and see. If you see here, only for the paragraph 1 it is getting changed to a background, that is the image that I have here, which is background color image. Or if I want to change it to any other image that I have in the library, maybe a light blue, I'll go ahead and select that. And now you see, this is what you're seeing here is actually a image file, not the color that I'm giving. It is taking up from this image. So what is this image? If I go ahead and see this image, right? Where is this image? Inside the image and background folder. Okay. Let's say image and the background. Okay. Now, if you can see this, this is the image file. And earlier I used to refer was this image file. It was only taking this part. Okay. So now this is the one. All right. Let's say for the body itself, I'll try to use this image. Let's say how it will look. Let's go here. Instead of this, I'll make this changed. And instead of body, I'll say body image. And then I'm going to add URL. inside the URL, I'm going to give the path, which is image, and then background color as blue. All right. So now if you see this background color, that image that I have put, it's coming up here. Okay. This is because of the background color as a image that I'm going to set. Now, this a background image, right? There is also a way that I can add certain things. Let's say, maybe what I can do here is, let's say I'm going to add another image, or I can put this in a div. Let's say I have created a div. Inside the div, I have added these paragraphs. All these three paragraphs exist inside this div. Now I'm going to select a divs element selector and background image. I'm going to say URL, and then inside the URL, I'm going to select image. Image, let's say, what else I have here? Yeah, let's say I'm going to take this flag. All right. Now, this is not that legible here because that's a huge image that we have added. Let's say, is there any other image that I have got? Smaller ones. Let me see this one. Rose is also a bigger one. Rose is also a bigger one. Yeah, it is just appearing at the bottom. Let's see what else we have. Is there any other image? Yeah. I don't know if this will look or not. Yeah, this is looking, but it is taking the entire div itself. I had one image called dogman. Let's see where it is. Let me go to notes. Let me go to images. And then I'll go to yeah, samples, examples, then assets, images. All right. Let's see this one. Yeah. So now this is fair enough to show you. Let's say now what you are seeing here, guys. I have added a image as a background for the entire body itself. Okay. For the body, I have added a image of a dog which is of 100 by 100 pixel in length. So that is the reason you are seeing that image getting repeated throughout. Now, there is another property here called as background repeat. Okay. So there is a property called background repeat. Now what I'm saying, no repeat. So it is not repeating. It is only there at the single time. So had I not given this property, then what will happen? Let's say I've commented out, it is going to repeat itself throughout. Okay, because it's a smaller image, 100 by 100 pixel. So as long as the entire screen that I have selected, because this is a body selector, it is going to select the entire body and try to put this image as a background. So in order to not to repeat it, I want to have it no repeat. So it will have only one occurrence. Now, at the same time, I want to have its position to be set. There is a position called as background position. I can say right, okay, bottom. What I'm trying to say, I want it to have at the right side and bottom. Okay, what this particular property will say, this property will say what position am I going to set this image. Okay, which is I am going to set it at the right bottom. Now suppose, because this is a smaller page, the page ends here itself, so you're going to see it here. Had the page been a bit longer, for that what I'll do, I'll add another paragraph with lot of lorem words in it. Okay, lorem words, love, suppose say I have added 1,000 words. Okay, now this page is a bigger one. Now you don't even see the image here. Why? Because the position of the image is at the right side of the viewport and at the bottom of the viewport, which at the bottom of the web page of this element. So the element here, which is body, that is selected, so the body is huge, so that is the reason it is always appearing at the right bottom of the body uh, selector. Okay, so this is about background position. There is background repeat, there is background position, and there is background image, and then there is a background color. So there are different ways that you can style the background. And now what you have seen here is four major properties that are very frequently used. Okay, understood, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And another thing you can say is, let's say, um oh, is that background size, background image also fine, background repeat. I think this should be good enough. Again, this is a background which is for shortcut. What you see here is about how do you want to set this background, whether you want to scroll it or you don't want to scroll it. Suppose I say it as fixed, uh, FIXED. Suppose I don't want this because I'm not fixing the position. Now let's say I want that to be fixed. So what it will do, it will nowhere to be seen. And now if I say scroll, okay, now if you see, there is nothing to be seen. Okay, so always remember that you need to specify what position you want to place that background in. So like the way I can even say right top as well. Even I can put that in top, which means it will be at here. It's the right side and at the top. Okay. So depending on whatever the position you choose, if you want, usually you can use that when you are creating a chat window or anything. You can use that as a way to represent your background images in that format. Okay. Now it is about background. Any questions, guys, in this background learning that you saw?
No, sir.
Okay. Now, let me go ahead and try to understand borders. Okay. So now what is this borders? Borders is all about setting this border. Okay. The border for the element. So now what are the different kinds of properties that we can go ahead? Let's say I'll try to use the same one. Let me remove this first. Okay. The same three things are there for me. I have three paragraphs, paragraph 1, 2, and 3, and nothing else. Now I want to set a border for my header. So what first is the element selector, which is H1. Then I'm going to use uh, this one called as border. Now border, for that there is couple of things. Okay, the very first is the shortcut. Let's understand the shortcut. This is a shortcut, guys. Border is just a shortcut. Suppose border, I say of 2 pixel in size, the width of the border. Then there is what kind of a border style I want to use. The style is solid. Okay, and if by default it is a black color. Now let's say I want to change it to some other color called coral color. Okay, so now what I'm trying to say here is create a border for H1 selector for this element, and that border should have a width of 2 pixel, and it should be styled as solid, and the color of the border should be coral. This is called a border shortcut or a short form notation of doing a border representation. And this, let's say I want to increase it to 3 pixel. And now let's see the output. So this is how it looks. The width of this is what? The width of this is 3 pixel, and it is color is changed. And now if I want to change the style, I can say dotted. Okay, so this will be appearing as a dotted border, or I can say dashed also. Dashed is also one more thing. Yeah, dashed is you will see the dashed here. Okay, that is also a way to represent the border. Now this way, this pixel also I can vary to 10 pixel. You can see a thicker borders like this. Okay, if I make the width of the border to be higher, then it changes accordingly. All right, this is a short form notation or a shortcut notation. Now there is also something we have which is called as border hyphen style. Okay, just you want to change the style of the border. Let's say I want to change the style of the border as dotted. Now you can just use another property called border style. It will create a border as dotted. Okay, this is a dotted border. And then there is also another this one called border color. I can change the border color to brown. So this will automatically change the color to brown. Now, or I can say, let make it as red so that it is more visible. Yeah. If I see it is red in color or dashed, that it is visible. Control S. Yeah, it is dashed red in color. Then there is another border called attribute called property called border width. Okay. Now I can set the border width as how much? 3 pixel. Let's say this is the 3 pixel of border width. So combining all these three will give me this shortcut. So what is this shortcut? The shortcut is border, just border. So we have got border style, border color, and border width. Mind you guys, whenever you use the shortcut, right, always the very first parameter you need to provide is a width, next is dashed, and third is the color. Color is not mandatory guys, but these two are mandatory. You need to provide the width and what style it is. Okay, but this, even though you don't give also, that's fine. Okay, it is don't, it doesn't bother it. But now along with that, there is a border style, border color, and border width. All these three can be combined and put into a short form, which is just border. Understood guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. And is there anything else that we have in border I missed out? Yeah, yeah. This is a good thing. Now, what else I can do is let me show you another thing here. Um, yeah, let me show this. Another important thing here. I just missed out here. Now, what this contains? Let's take this only one example. So what this contains is border style. Now border style can be Control Z, just comment it out. The border style, what you see is given as a dashed, right? So now if I go ahead and see the output, it is all in dashed. Okay, that is what you can see it here. Now suppose I want to make a dashed at the top and bottom, and left and right I want to change it as a solid. I can do that. It is left, top, right, left, bottom. That is what the convention would be. So dashed, solid, dashed, solid. So what it contains, the top and bottom are in dashed style, whereas the left and right are in solid, because this is top, right, bottom, left. It goes in a clockwise. This is a top, left, top, right, bottom, then left. So it always go from the clockwise direction like this. So top, right, bottom, left. That is the reason you can go ahead and say in this format, where you want to style each side to be indifferent. So suppose top is dashed, right is solid, bottom is dotted. Okay, I can do that. And then there is solid. This is also fine. Top is dashed, solid, dotted, solid. Okay, that is again the border styling you can do depending on the these four parameters. You can, that represents the four sides. All right, so understood, guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So that is something that and even you can go ahead and see these different kinds of examples that are given here. It will be easy for you to learn. Okay, and then let's go ahead and see what are rounded corners. As the name itself suggests, you are making the corners as rounded. Now let's say I'll try to remove this. Okay, now let's say we have a border. So border, what I have, like 3 pixel. It is in solid style, and then I'll make this color as indigo. Okay. This is the normal that I have, and then at the same time I'll put the text alignment. It is just for my purpose. Text alignment is center, so that it appears, the alignment of the text appears center. Okay, this is what I did. So what is this? There is a 3 pixel of width. It is in an indigo color, and the solid is the style that I have used. Suppose these edges, right? These are pretty sharp in nature. Okay, these are sharp edges. So how do I make these edges rounded? By using what you call it as another property called as border radius. Okay, so border radius is again another property that makes your border as rounded. What I need to give is, I need to give how many pixel of rounded radius that I need to make. Like for example, 5 pixel. So if I make it as a 5 pixel, then your borders, right? You can see these are changed to rounded corners. Okay, they are not sharp now because of the property called border radius. And again, there is another thing that I want to bring is the RUS. Radius also has got border, top left, bottom right, end start, start end. So these are the different variations that you can also utilize. Like for example, let's say border, I'll comment this out. Now let's say I want to make a border top left. Only top left radius I want to change to 5 pixel. So what it means is only the top left corner of the element will be rounded, not the rest of them. Now what you see here is, this is the top and left. Only this will be rounded, whereas these all remain as what? Sharp edges. Now along with this, I want to make this as rounded. So what I should give? Border bottom right. Correct? Bottom, bottom, bottom right, then there is radius. Then I'll make this also as 5 pixel. So what it makes, the top left and bottom right, this and this will be rounded, whereas these and this will be sharp edges. Okay, understood, guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So yeah, I mean that's about rounded corners. Again, width and height, as the name itself suggests, it will define the width and height of the element. Like for example, let's say I'll remove this. I'll just keep this as a border. Let's say width. Width, I want to occupy only 50% of the viewport. Okay, and then height. Height, I want to say as 100 pixel, or maybe 200 pixel. So now if I go ahead and see this output, if you see this, guys, what is happening here? I'll remove the zoom. So I have taken the H1 element The border is created and the text alignment is center. That is fine because this within this element it is taking. Now width is what I have said, 50% of the viewport. Okay, so now this is occupying half of my screen that is visible here. Okay, that is because of the width properties 50%, but the height is this from top to bottom. This is 200 pixel. I have set that to 200 pixel because of this height element. Now a height property, I can make it as 50 as well, and now it will reduce to 50. Okay, so this is about height and width. You can set that height and width for any element. Width can be in terms of percentages, in terms of REM. Again, there is a lot of length that you can provide. We'll come to that and discuss what are the different ways. Like you can also give the thing as VW as well. VW is another way. REM is another way. Okay, EM is another way. So there are different ways that you can provide the length. So one is in terms of percentage, another is in terms of even pixels also I can provide. Okay, even the pixels is also fine. Let's say I'll give 150 pixels. So 150 pixel, and then height is 50 pixel. Okay, understood, guys? This one.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So now with that, we'll stop it now, and I encourage you guys to please go to these notes where we have tech notes and code examples. Okay, go ahead and go to these code examples and learn for yourself because it has got a lot of examples given here. You can go there and take the editor, go ahead and modify anything that you want. Okay, check that output live here. You can modify that, and if you want to revert to that, just refresh this. It will change it to the modified color. Okay, you can go ahead and delete anything, change the output how it looks, and all that you can do based on this editor that you have. All right, so I encourage you to go ahead and see these examples for yourself. All right, guys, thank you, and you guys have a good night.